All right, as part of the TARP discussion, by the way, the Bank of America, as you know, paid down $45 billion worth of TARP money. Get him out from under the government's boot, I think. But Andrew Ross Sorkin, ace New York Times reporter and author of Too Big to Fail, he feels that they did it not necessarily for health reasons, but for compensation reasons, especially to hire a CEO, but that's not all. And we have CNBC contributor and syndicated columnist Jerry Bowyer to chime in. Andrew Ross Sorkin, this pains me. You mean the B of A is not really healthy? They're just doing this for these for this materialistic reasons to hire a new CEO?
I don't want to suggest to you that B of A is not healthier than it used to be. It is. But I think when you really look at the timing of why they're doing it now, and how healthy they are relative to where you'd like them to be, I think that the compensation issue and what they would argue as the competitiveness issue really drove this, probably much more so than strictly the dollars and cents.
You know, there's a cynical part of your piece here. Yes. I don't think it was you. It was somebody from Standard & Poor's or somebody. Oh. But this idea that the B of A, what the heck, get out from under TARP for whatever motives because they are too big to fail.
They're too big to fail anyway.
Now, that is just fascinating to me, and that is worth a comment. What do you make of that, Andrew?
Well, you know, I think there's a grain of truth in there, which is you give the money back, and if they run into listen, if B of A tomorrow announces that they're about to go under, can you imagine Tim Geithner, who, by the way, has helped bail out so many of these other institutions, turn around and say, no, I'm not going to do it? So, you know, I think there's probably a grain of truth in that.
All right. Jerry Bowyer, you know, getting out from under the pay caps is not a bad motive, is it?
No, it's a great motive. I mean, I can't find a bad motive here. They do it because they're healthy, or they do it because they don't want to be run like the, you know, like the municipal water and sewer authority of Orange County with comparable pay scales. They're all good reasons. So get out from under TARP. The only rule I would have is no backsies. Right? You give the TARP money back, then you can't come back in a year and say, things were worse than we thought and we'd like our TARP money. That's a line of credit. The federal government is not a line of credit. If Bank of America pays back its TARP money, which it's doing, and then it runs into trouble, then they should have a orderly bankruptcy, not another bailout.
You know, Andrew, just listening to what Jerry's saying here, if they came back for backsies, so to speak, it looks like the Senate and the House banking committees, financial services, Barney Frank, Chris Dodd, all of it, the financial re-regulation might break them up, put them into some kind of bankruptcy resolution, Andrew, and break them up. I mean, isn't that the stakes pretty high here?
It does make the stakes higher. And by the way, resolution authority is what we need. But let me remind the viewers, we do not have resolution authority just yet. And had we had it a year ago, we might have saved ourselves from Lehman Brothers. So you're absolutely right. There should be no backsies, if you will. So but unfortunately today, if it happened tomorrow, there would be backsies.
Well, if it happened tomorrow. But what happens if after this bill is passed? I mean, too big to fail may not be quite as powerful as it was. Is that what you're saying?
No, and I agree with that. I think that there shouldn't be backsies. But at the same time, the motivation to give the money back today rather than give it back in a couple of months even was clearly motivated by the effort to get a CEO, the effort to actually be able to give out bonuses that are meaningful to people that they think they're about to lose. I mean, that was what was driving this. And I don't want to tell you that's a bad reason, but when you look at, did they make more loans this quarter than last? No. Did they lose $1 billion in the third quarter? Yes.
But Andrew, what are the rules? Can anyone explain to me what the reserve requirement is for one of these banks in TARP? Because the official reserve requirement clearly doesn't apply. The government has them in a situation where they're saying, you need excess capital. Well, how much do we need? Well, we don't know exactly how much you need. So in that environment, they're just hoarding the money. So if the government would take the TARP, would say, you can pay the TARP money back, you're on your own, then banks would know the reserve requirement rules, and then they would be able to start to put out these excess reserves.
But you are pointing up the most important issue, which is that at the moment, the repayment issue is completely ad hoc. You go hand in hand to Treasury, you say, please, please, this is what I want to do and why. There is no real rules, and it's creating a two-tier system, both for Citigroup and Wells Fargo among the biggies, but also the community banks, which can't turn back this money so quick.
All right,
and you know what? If we solve that problem, we wouldn't have to talk about a TARP slush fund going out to small businesses, because the banks would be in a position where they'd feel free to lend out to small businesses through the private sector.
We're going to leave it there. Thank you, gentlemen. Andrew Ross Sorkin, Jerry Bowyer, appreciate it very much. So, next up, can stocks rally in the face of with a stronger dollar and plunging gold. That's been the theme for the last week or more. Or maybe now investors need a brand new strategy to play what I still think is a bull market recovery. Famed investor Byron Wien, Don Lusk, and Michael Farr, they're going to tell us how to play this changing market. It's not quite so easy right now. King dollar might be back, I think. Keep it with the Kudlow Report. We'll be right back.